Progressive, libertarian, conservative, liberal? Where does Jesus fit into all of this? Disclaimer. All right, so I am not a historian, philosopher, social psychologist, political scientist. So as I go through these different ideologies or philosophies, I'm not going to be exhaustive as far as which policies the groups advocate, as well as their origins, because one can argue that some of them come out of the other, right? So, but that's not what this video is about. All right, let's get started. So let's start with conservatives. So conservatives will advocate for lower taxes, free market, individual responsibility. They may increase spending for the military. Number two, you have your liberals, which tend to advocate for equality in various aspects of life, such as education, healthcare. So they may advocate for some type of government instituted healthcare system, expansion of disability benefits, SNAP benefit, Medicaid, and so on. Number three, progressives. They tend to advocate for greater accountability, especially with economic inequality, power dynamics, accountability for corporations through regulations, and they tend to be more confrontational than liberals when it comes to those issues. Number four, we have libertarians. So everyone has their own agency. I can choose to do whatever I want to do as long as it doesn't infringe upon your rights or harm you. Other than that, you're free to do what you want to do. Also, they would advocate for minimal government intervention, free market, that the United States is not the international police, and they should stop with the foreign intervention as well as economic aid. Now, typically at this point, someone will say, Jesus is above all of these things. Christ is above. And to that I would say, amen. Or someone may say, well, if we're really following Jesus or being biblical, we will clearly see which one's the closest to the scriptures and the way of Jesus. But I want to take a different approach here. There may be evidence from the work of people like social psychologist Jonathan Haidt that would indicate that some of our leanings towards these things, orientation to some of these values espoused by these different ideologies, are more innate than they are selective. In other words, due to different biological processes and social development and evolution, one may find themselves naturally in one area or another. So that just simply means you just be maybe naturally inclined to fit into one of these different ideologies more than the others. And guess what? It's okay. All that means is you have an outlook that has some aspects of good, but on its own and expressed in extreme ways are very problematic. But this does present us an opportunity where you can be the perfect candidate to express your particular viewpoints, as well as see the pitfalls that it has. Some things you can ask yourself, is there anything redemptive in this particular view? As I reflect on the teachings of Jesus, what are the strengths and what are the weaknesses? We need to listen to brothers and sisters who naturally find themselves loosely associated or tightly tied to any one of these ideologies, but also challenge them. And once we challenge them, we just reflect and move on and keep it going. There are elements of good in each one of these ideologies, and we need to acknowledge that. And maybe we'll realize that liberals have the best perspective on healthcare, but we need the input from all other groups to determine which one is best for most or all Americans. And maybe conservatives have the best view on economic development or liberty, but that view has to be tweaked by various groups in different ways. Now, Timothy Keller wrote an article, and I'll post a link in the description below along with the other items that you might find useful with this topic. But one thing he does, he shares this story of this man who was, I believe, from Mississippi, Republican and Presbyterian, traditional Presbyterian, hold on to the historic views, that particular tradition. And he visited some churches in Scotland, and he was glad to find brothers and sisters who held to the same views that he did, as it came to the scriptures and God and so on. But there was one thing that he made mention that was definitely different, and how those brothers and sisters had different views on the government involvement in economic or social safety nets. And from our perspective as Americans, that would be more on the left or liberal side. And so when he came back, he didn't come back more liberal or seeking to be liberal, but he came back humbled, knowing that there are other brothers and sisters whose convictions are rooted in the scriptures, yet find themselves engaging in from different points of view politically. And to realize that people are trying to do their best to be obedient to God's call. And that may mean you will find Christians land on different places on the political spectrum, but also that they would be loyal to various strategies in order to get that done. So that may mean not only that people are progressive and Christian, or liberal and Christian, conservative, libertarian. Not only that, but you also have the element of, you have Christians who decide that it's best to hold public office. You have Christians who decide that it's best that they be removed from that and be advocates for the community. Then you have Christians who are part of political action committees. And then you have Christians who are part of different nonprofit groups that advocate for certain issues. Or you may be part of some type of grassroots network in order to, push particular initiatives. And then one also can look at the scope, the level. One may be involved in county and city affairs, but one may want the statewide and or national platform. So it just depends. You can find yourself anywhere on this and still be loyal to Jesus. And that's really the point of this video, is to say, where does Jesus fall on this? Where should Christians fall on this? I think we should be willing to live in that tension of seeing aspects, elements of good in any one of those, and doing our best to be faithful to Jesus and answer and solve the issues of our land. And that's the answer, in my opinion. You can be anywhere, and it's okay. Just be willing to listen to your brothers and sisters, see if you may need to make some adjustments. So I want to hear from you. Where do you all lean politically on your ideology? More progressive, liberal, conservative? And what are the aspects of your group where you love this and you find that this is so important to emphasize for our country? But then you also find there are areas where they need to reform, they need to think about these particular issues differently. How do you orient yourself when it comes to politics? Do you say more Jesus is a private matter, has nothing to do with what happens in the public square, or you say Jesus is in everything, therefore the convictions of the followers of Jesus should be enforced on everyone or expected for everyone? Or do you find some weird in between where you try to seek the best for the city? That may also mean putting in politicians or advocating or joining with certain groups that may advocate for things that you don't agree with. However, they are pushing something that you find critical and important. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. Like, subscribe for more content like this. Till next time. Thanks.